Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are having Mark Naster here as our interviewee, and we're going to talk about his time in the military as well as transitioning out and what he's up to today. So, Mark, if you would take it away with who you are and what you do.
Mark Naster. I know I don't look it, but I'm 74 years old
You don't look a day over 50.
right now in a kind of a semi-retired mode. I spent close to 40 years in the private sector and a total of 15 years in the nonprofit sector. And I've had a variety of experiences, a variety of careers. 6 years as an officer in the Marines, and now a teaching assistant in a pre-K program with 4 and 5 year olds, and spending time with grandkids, obviously playing guitar, keeping myself sane, and enjoying life.
Excellent, excellent. So, getting into it, taking
Yeah,
it all back, what got you into the military? Because you're in the Marines, correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting. I was a very good athlete. I was not. No, I don't. It's one of those boasting things. I was an I was an outstanding athlete. As a sophomore in high school, I took second in the 200 at state and third in the 100. Took second in the National Junior Olympics in the 100. Um, I love baseball. I was a very good baseball player. I got hurt. I got hurt in football, had to rebuild my shoulder, had hamstring injuries, which destroyed my track career. At the Shawnee Mission School District, when I was starting my senior year, the Shawnee Mission School District started a Naval Junior ROTC program.
Oh,
And all four schools had it: North, South, East, and West. I was at West. So they had a bunch of drill and things going on out at Shawnee Mission East to decide if people were going to, stay in the program, and if they were interested, they were going to take on a leadership role. I was made the commander at Shawnee Mission West. So
this is probably more work
I
than
really
fun.
don't know what the hell that meant at the time, but we got Navy uniforms. Um, we did drill. We took classes. It was history classes. It was kind of an introduction to the Navy. And we wore uniforms on Wednesdays at the school, and some of them were dress uniforms. We did things like the sword arch at the uh, uh, for the Queen and King at
Hmm.
Valentine's party, whatever the hell it was. But I got my first military experience there in the junior ROTC program, and then the plan was to go to KU. Because of my sports, I lost my sports opportunity. I was getting, as a sophomore, and this was back before a lot of these legal things. I was getting letters from colleges being recruited for track and also for football. Hated football, but I was fast, and everybody go, we'll give you the ball, and you just run faster than anybody else. Problem was we didn't have anybody blocking at West, so I was no, but I really didn't enjoy football. But um, the bottom line, I was being recruited, and so when I lost the sporting opportunity, I gained the military opportunity,
Okay.
which then allowed me to, when I went to KU, and actually I had my shoulder rebuilt between my senior year and my freshman year at KU.
Okay.
So I was rebuilding my shoulder. I joined the Naval ROTC program as a contract student, not as a scholarship student. I
Can you
never
can
applied for the scholarship, and I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't.
can you expand on I never even heard of that.
The
I don't know
contract
much about it.
student was basically you started the program, and at the end of 4 years, or at the end of the 2 years, you would sign a contract to finish it for the remaining 2 years.
Okay.
Then you would have a 3 year obligation, but you weren't receiving money. Okay. Scholarship student, you got full tuition and
Right.
books. And so when I started at KU as a freshman in the Naval ROTC program, I wanted to be a Marine. I mean, my God, from a very young age, I wanted to be a Marine.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have anybody in my family that was in the military. Nobody. I had an uncle that was in the Navy for a period of time.
Hmm.
I had no military influences in my family at all. I had a neighbor across the street who was with the VFW, and occasionally he'd wear his uniform, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
But so I was a freshman at KU, and I got involved in the drill team. I took it very, very, very seriously, and I had a great education about the Navy. And people don't say, well, why would I be so excited about that? Well, as a Marine officer and being on ship, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I knew where I could go. I know where I couldn't go.
Yeah. You had all the
And
frame of reference that you
and
needed.
believe it or not, some of the things that I learned about the history is fantastic. But how to maneuver a ship has taught me how to maneuver my car, how to
Oh,
enter traffic at a
yeah.
different angle so as not to cut people off. But I learned certain things that is expanded. Then I was allowed. Then I majored in geography and meteorology. I was never a weather geek.
Hmm.
Uh, I majored in geography and meteorology because I knew when I graduated from college I was going to be a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, and it would give me the greatest knowledge and expansive knowledge that I needed in order to be educationally to be a good Marine officer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that. That's really
So
thinking ahead.
and I did. In thinking about that's what my career was. I mean, people say I'm going to be an electrical engineer, so they get in the engineering program. Well,
Right.
it was so I was in the Naval ROTC program. I took the classes, which was a requirement.
Hmm.
But I had the history in the geography department. I had to take regional classes, so I took a class in the Soviet Union and Southeast Asia. Ta-da!
Yeah.
But my paper, my final paper, I was saying what year it was. Was it my senior year? Oh, I forgot. It's not important. Was on the climatological effects on guerrilla warfare in Southeast Asia.
I'd read that.
It was good.
I would be interested to
It
read
was
that.
really good, and it was right on. When people talk about the monsoons and the jungles and everything else. So then, but I also had to take classes on geographic areas. So on the Soviet Union, when it was the Soviet Union, you had Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all these other stands.
Yeah.
Everything was going on. So you learn the political and the economic components of all that, which helped me. What people don't realize is that as an officer in the Marines, especially, you're a lot more than just the leader of Marines. You have to understand the strategic and political situation that you're in at the point in time, because it's much bigger than just the tactics.
I agree. When we were deploying to go to Afghanistan, I,
Yeah,
on my own, did a ton of research on not just Afghanistan, but the region in general, because I wanted to understand all the different conflicts and the relationships between the various countries that were surrounding us. And that did help. It gave me a lot of frame of reference when we were there. So, like, for instance, the Iran thing kicked off where they were gonna, where Trump hit Soleimani, and then Iran is threatening on missiling Bagram when Nick and I were there, and so but at least I had some understanding of the history behind that. So that's yeah, I
by the way, did you
totally it
see
makes
they're
a lot of
trying to get
sense.
Bagram back?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, yeah, kind of interesting. And what's really interesting is getting the geopolitical component of it, of learning this stuff while I was in college. But when I graduated, the day I graduated, May 23rd, 1973, I was commissioned a lieutenant in the Marines and immediately had to go to Quantico for my basic school. And so I felt, for instance, everything that I learned, climatology, uh, I Forgive me for telling stories. I'm a storyteller.
No, hey, that's a
This
podcast.
this is fabulous.
Fire away.
So if you are in a student and you're going to be an officer in the military, go to your school, find out who's teaching a class in um, cartography, on map reading, on drawing maps and understanding of map reading, and on aerial photography. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So I was involved. I was with the 1st Recon Battalion, and I was assigned working with 3rd Battalion or 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. They're going to do the first live firing exercise at 29 Palms because the Marine Corps decided after the Arab-Israeli War in 73, we might be fighting in the desert. So they decided to open
Yeah.
29 Palms and have a live fire exercise. And so I was assigned to 2-7, and the battalion commander, Colonel Flynn, assigned me as because I was in recon, assigned me as the camouflage officer. So I did a training about how do you camouflage this and camouflage, your artillery and all this stuff. And there was actually artillery battery, a live fire group that was assigned to us, but everything else was command and control. So we get the word that the commandant of the Marine Corps and the commanding general of the 1st Marine Division wants to see how good our camouflage is in our position. So they're going to fly a reconnaissance plane over 29 Palms and to see what a good job we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we heard that they're going to fly over a 1300. All right. Everybody inside. Everybody inside. Everybody went inside. I could hear the jet fly overhead. Okay, great. So then about an hour or so later, I get a call that I need to bring in a helicopter because they're bringing in the aerial photography. Okay, cool. So I bring in the helicopter, they get it in, they're coming out with this big ass map, and they unfold it on top of the Jeep. And they go, Colonel, you guys did an outstanding job. I don't see anything here on the ground. We couldn't see. Their command and control was just, you did a great job. Way to go, Colonel Flynn. So everybody's patting each other on the back, and Colonel Flynn's all just feeling good, and he lights a cigar. And everybody else goes back in the LVT where the command center was. I said, Colonel, can I show you something? I said, we're here. They flew here. They missed us by 1.5 miles. That's why they didn't see anything. And he goes, well, see, everybody used to call me Nasty. My last name is Naster.
Right.
My nickname was Nasty. So, Nasty, you tell anybody, I'll kill you. This is one of those stories that stayed, that I've loved to tell over the years, because it was one of those things that I had learned how to read a map. And as an officer,
yeah.
But one of the things enlisted troops will tell you that they hate about officers is they don't know how to read a damn map.
Oh yeah, we love to bust balls in the Army.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps is a little bit different. But we had orienteering classes, and we spent a lot of time on that stuff.
Yeah.
So they still gave us a lot of trouble about it. So, but I spent when I graduated from the basic school, we went through a 6-month program in Quantico. Great program. Learning about being a leader, and some of the technical stuff, about weapons and tactics, but most of it was about leadership. And I got my first platoon out in Camp Pendleton. This was 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines with Golf Company, and was another guy from our class in there. And because of this was post-Vietnam, this was 74.
Okay.
They cadre 2-5. And so they said, I had a rifle platoon. And I will tell you, what people don't realize of what was going on back in the 70s, the post-Vietnam era, a lot of criminals. We had a lot of criminals. There was a drug problem. There were issues in the basic infantry ranks because they weren't busy. We we did training, but it wasn't live training. We didn't
Hmm.
have the amount of live ammo and other things that we could do.
You say they were bored?
They were bored.
Yeah, because there's that saying that,
And, they weren't. We weren't ready for combat. Alpha Den, I'll tell you that right there.
yeah,
But I
there's
mean,
that saying, nothing more dangerous than a bored soldier.
oh yeah, no kidding,
Yeah.
no kidding. So they decided to cadre 2-5, and the battalion commander called me up, and he said, he called me Nasty too. I love that. He said, Nasty, he said, you're one of my best lieutenants. Where do you want to go? Let's see, was it 70, I was 75. I said 74, right? I'm
Yeah.
22 years old. I want to go to recon. Yeah, I'm a little stud guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he says, well, we'll get you orders to force if you can pass the PFT, their physical fitness test. So they took me down there, down at the beach, and I passed the physical fitness test, but couldn't walk for 2 days afterwards. I mean, it wiped me out. So I got orders to first recon. They cadred first force, and they integrated in the first recon battalion up at Camp Horno. So I got assigned up there, and I was there to take over the deep recon platoon, which was the old force for troops. I had had no experience in recon at all. So they ended up sending me to jump school, went down to Fort Benning, got to spend wonderful time with the Army.
Yeah.
Just what was always funny is we'd go on those 3-mile runs around the track over there at the jump school,
Mhm.
and some of these Army officers just could not keep up, and they kept me in the BOQ, the Bachelor Officers Quarters,
Oh,
with
okay. Yeah.
all the young Army lieutenants who were just graduated from ROTC and going through their infantry course. Oh, you're a Marine. Tell me about it? That whole. But I went to jump school. I came back, and then they had sent me also to scuba school down in San Diego.
That's cool. So I remember growing up, April would talk about her dad jumping out of a airplane, but
Yeah.
she never mentioned the scuba part, which is probably equally
Well, you
cool.
know what? Of all the things that I did, and I've also was trained in mountain climbing, and my recon people did some training up in Pickle Meadows, up in the Sierra Nevadas. And the most dangerous thing I ever did was scuba diving, because you can die in a second.
Oh
If
yeah.
something
Yeah.
goes wrong. And like some great stories that I've been able to go through with jump school, and so then I took over the deep recon platoon, and then they decided there was another guy that had a little bit more experience, so they gave him that platoon, and they moved me into the 3 shop, and I became the assistant operations officer for first recon. And so I did set up all the training, and then they needed an officer to be trained as a jump master, so they could blame in case somebody died. So so they ended up sending me to Fort Bragg with the 5th group, the 5th Special Forces group, and I went through jump master training,
Okay. Yeah.
which was a cool thing. There were 2 officers in the class. One of them was an Army major, and me. And I was the only Marine in the class.
What was the chill factor like after being at Benning with Rangers and infantry, and then being with Fifth Group? Was
Uh,
there kind of a night and day difference, or
you know,
maybe not that time?
no, not that much. But I will say this: the jump master instructors were a lot more chill. They're a lot more, you know,
You're
they
an
had a
adult.
job to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't like a modified boot camp like some of the black hats were. At
Yeah.
Benny.
But it's kind of like, I don't know if the Marines have it, but the Army does, like, you got what's called your gentleman's course. Like, you're treated like an adult, as long as you're showing up in the right uniform, and they're gonna give you the instruction, and then it's gonna go from there. Versus other courses, it's like you're getting hit
Yeah,
over the head
yeah.
with a cinder block.
The instructors, they were all Green Beret,
Yeah.
and they treated me like an.
Yeah.
to the point that the day we did a number of jumps, and we had a number of night jumps. And one of our night jumps, we're still looking for that was Air Force C-130 pilot that flew us in, and we ended up with a tree landing at night. So we were all pissed off about that. But I graduated and did very well in the course academically. The Marine Corps was one of those opportunities that really trained me in reading and learning. It was a constant learning experience. The things that I was working with my troops, constantly teaching. And that's one of the things that helped me in my career, in my corporate career, was learning how to work with people and teach them skill, but also not just basic knowledge, just basic knowledge. And so I was involved there, got orders to Okinawa, and got over there and became the executive officer of of Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, who
So
had just got off boarding the Mayaguez.
Okay, yeah.
After the fall of Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids thought they were really salty. They didn't do shit, but they thought they were pretty salty. But I ended up taking up Charlie 1-4. Actually, a great experience academically. Did a lot of admin, learned a lot of things, but still led. This is where it's really funny, guys, that I had an office of office clerks, because we were doing all this service record books. And, every time you had a class or something, you had to make an entry, and I had to sign it. These guys were great. They were really good. I actually got them out in the field one day on an operation, and we were the bad guys. We were the enemy for the
Op four.
company.
Did y'all call them Op four in Marines?
First Battalion, 4th Marines, Camp Hansen in Okinawa.
So in the Army, they like guys playing the bad guy. We just call them Op 4, opposing force. I didn't know if you guys use the same terminology.
Yeah, well, we were just the bad guys.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That simplifies it.
We're crayon eaters. Come on.
Which I was just gonna say, yeah, Marines. Maybe we're getting a little too fancy with Op 4.
Guys.
We gotta relax a little bit.
And these guys weren't used to being in the field. But this is where I learned how to run an office.
Yeah.
Okay. These are things that people don't realize. The experiences that we gained in the military helped translate for me when I moved in the corporate world. I'll tell you the quick story once I get through this. But I was the executive officer, and then one day at lunch, the battalion commander said, "Nasty, I want you to be our 3 Alpha," which was the assistant operations officer.
Mm-hmm.
For a battalion, the active battalion in the Far East, in case something happened, we were getting called.
That's huge. Yeah.
I'm a 1st lieutenant. I said, "Sir, this is a senior captain's job." He says, "Yeah, but I've been watching you, Naster. You can do it." And I did it. We had operations in Korea, and I was on the advanced team and got that done. And we had a large operation, Beacon Cherry, with the Korean Marines. Did all the training with the Korean Marines. Did the same thing. We're down in the Philippines, down at the Mao camp in the Philippines. I'm 24 years old.
Yeah.
How do I know how to do this stuff? That's the other thing that people don't realize about our young service members. You give them, they've been given more responsibility, even in a combat zone. You get a young Lance Corporal who's in charge of taking a group through a small village in Afghanistan. Our young, and the thing that I don't necessarily want to get into that, we can, but what I'm really pleased about is my experience was bottom up.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen with NCOs or guys not quite NCOs, and what I've learned over time, because I always knew some of these people existed, but I didn't realize it was probably more than half. they'll say, well, that guy's not ready to be an E5 is when the NCO chain starts in the Army for the most
Yeah.
part. There's a technicality, but we have to get into that. And so that guy's not ready. And I'll say, yeah, but it's because we're giving him the choice. Put him in that seat and he's going to have to figure it out. And he will shock us all when he figures it out. And
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the time, whoever that is works out. And usually if they don't work out, that was that one person I'd have been like, yeah, I think you're right. That guy's not ready. But yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you're saying this because something we hit on plenty of our posts, whether it's on the whether it's in the interviews or whether it's stuff we have on the website and stuff, is there Nick and I realized that there are these skills you get from the military because somebody will say, well, as infantry, I don't have any skills that translate to civilian life. And it's like, no, you actually do, because you got time management. You know, if you were even close to being an NCO, even if you were an E4, you've got people managing. You know how to work as a team, and the list goes on. But so I'm really glad you're getting into this topic because you're kind of one of the
Oh,
first people we've had that can really expand in a set of very good examples. So
well, and once I get into the corporate side, how much time do we have, by the way?
however much you want. We have a 3 hour episode with Matt
Ah,
Eversman. We don't have to go
okay,
that long,
good, because
but
I can
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
um, because when I start talking about what I did in the corporate world, and you can the translation of my experiences, my 6 years in the Marine Corps, it translated very very easily into my new job.
This is what we want. So
Yeah.
just to hit us over the head with it, let's have it.
So then we're in the Philippines. We're doing an operation with the Philippine Marines, and we're staying in the Philippines. And then we're doing an operation in Australia, Kangaroo 2. And I'm the executive officer of a
Yeah,
battalion. Are you
yeah.
kidding me? So all the communication and the planning and the logistics and they sent me. By the way, they sent me when I don't know why they did this, but because I guess I was available. They sent me to embark school.
So what's that? We don't know what that is.
Embarkation. You plan an amphibious operation.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You have to plan in reverse. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you plan.
So you have to learn how to plan, and
Yeah,
it's everything. It's everything. It's hard. It's weapons. It's ammunition. It's communication. It's machinery. It's troops. It's everything. You know, I have moved my daughters in my lifetime out of apartments and in my own house. If I hadn't have been to embark school, I probably would have gone crazy because
yeah,
I learned
I could
how
see
to
that.
pack. I learned how to load. I learned that you pack what you need first, last.
Yeah,
Okay, and a
yep,
lot of people will pack their stuff and then they go, where's this? Where's the forks?
yeah,
You know. So I learned that, and that's one of those things too that you think, what did I learn in the military? Well, it was one of those things that translated extremely well when it came time for me to transition into a leadership role in the corporate world. And I didn't always have that. My first 3 years, I was an individual contributor. But so I was over there, did that 12 months. Then at my last tour of duty, I was an officer selection officer. I was an officer recruiter in the San Francisco Bay Area, and UC Berkeley was one of my campuses. So I was put in a situation where I was integrating more with the civilians and actually recruiting officers for the Marines. Well, this was during the Carter administration, and things were terrible for the military, and they had cut back significantly. There was, we used to, I don't know if you know anything about history, but in 1979, after the Iranian Revolution, there was a large military operation in the desert that turned into a cluster. Can I say that?
absolutely.
Yeah, a clusterfuck where we lost equipment, we lost people, And because there was a lack of coordination, and the
Yeah.
military was just not, had been decimated so much. So I had actually was recruited by two organizations while I was at a recruiting day for the urban, what do they call it? The minority recruiting at Berkeley. And I had a table, uniform, the whole bit, all the Marine Corps stuff, and people would go by and former Marines. And believe it or not, out of the blue, when I told you I was a brand new platoon commander with 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, well, the guy who was the XO of the company walked by. And he looked at me and we talked. He's a special agent with the FBI. And he said, "Hey, you ever thought about leaving the Marine Corps?" And I go, "Yeah, I am." He goes, "Come with me." So we made a trip over to, he says, "You ought to be a special agent." Okay, what do I
Yeah.
need to do? I'm stupid. I mean, let's see, how old is he? 70, this is 78. I just got married. I'm 27 years old. I'm kind of stupid.
I was very stupid at 27. Don't get me
Yeah.
started.
And so he says, "Why don't you just take the test?" So I went over there. They, took me on a tour of everything that San Francisco FBI office was pretty big. So there's a lot of people there, and he was telling me what he did. And so I took the test, and it was a spelling test, 50-word spelling test. Why? Because J. Edgar Hoover at the time. So our agents are writing terrible reports because they don't know how to spell. So I had to take a 50-word spelling test, which I aced. And then I had to take a 3-hour test. All right. I didn't hear a damn thing. Nothing. So I'm also at this career fair, and a guy comes up, Ernie Hernandez, said, "You ever thought about leaving the Marine Corps?" I go, "Yeah, I'm giving it some thought. We're looking for a recruiter at EDS, Ross Perot's company."
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So I said, "Yeah, let's talk about it," because I was very experienced as a recruiter, officer recruiter.
Right.
So I had shown that I'm capable of doing that. So they flew people up to see me. They took Lorraine and I out to dinner in San Francisco, and come to find out from the other recruiters, they were pissed because they weren't treated that way. I don't know why I was, but I went down to Dallas. They made me an offer, and I accepted it because I had never heard anything back from the FBI.
Yeah.
So we moved to Dallas. It was terrible. It was a terrible experience. I was working Monday through Friday in Washington, D.C. I picked up a plane in Dallas on Monday, worked in Washington, D.C. On Friday, I flew back to Dallas. We found out we were pregnant with Jacqueline, our oldest
Yep.
daughter,
Oldest daughter. Yep.
while we were down there. And it was just hell. And while I was there, I got a call from a guy saying, "There's an opportunity back in Kansas City. There's a little company. You know the guy that owns the Royals, Ewing Kaufman?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, they're looking for a recruiter." And he was a former Marine captain. He was a former EDS recruiter,
Oh,
and he was
wow.
an executive recruiter. And he said, "You ought to apply," which I did. So I got an interview, and I went up there at Thanksgiving and interviewed. And then they finally made me an offer in January, and I still hadn't heard anything from the FBI. But EDS was not, this was post Iran situation. I don't know if you've ever read or heard the book On Wings of Eagles by Ken Follett about the Iranian rescue of their executives. Great
I know
book.
some about it, but I
It's a
haven't read a
great
book. I haven't
story.
done a deep dive.
It is a lot of folks in the recruiting department were involved. So, but EDS was more military than the Marine Corps.
Hmm.
Their dress code, the whole bit. So leaving that was not, and we didn't like Dallas at all. So the opportunity to come back to Kansas City, and my folks were all thrilled, obviously. And then I started at Marion Labs in February, and Jacqueline was born in March. I actually had to go out and get a loan to pay for my daughter because it was a pre-existing medical condition at the time. So, but I started as the management recruiter. I did all of the professional recruiting, all the professional level recruiting, exempt level. You know what that means.
Yeah.
Marion for 3 years until I was promoted to a manager. And I recruited everything um, from scientists to accountants to manufacturing to engineers. And I had great experience and helped develop an applicant tracking system. Again, the mentality of how to plan that I got from the Marine Corps. I was still an individual contributor, but how do you plan logistically from one thing to another, a military operation? And even you can call it a recon before you do, and then you write your plan. I was able to write a plan. I learned that as a young lieutenant.
Yeah, so stuff that seemed natural to you, not even second nature, but
It
straight
was, it was,
natural,
it,
probably foreign to some of your coworkers, but
yeah.
to you it was
And
just another
so I
day.
was able to accomplish that. And it was a funny story because I worked with this gal from IBM who in later life I got to know her husband. Uh, and we designed an applicant tracking system in 1980 that was the forerunner of all these great systems that are out there today. And we did this on an IBM OS6, which is not important, but one side went hardware, one side went software, and these floppy disks were like this big. Well, lo and behold, in 1980, the Kansas City Royals got to the World Series. And Mr. K said, every associate will get 2 tickets to the World Series. They'll pay for them, but they will get them. Oh, crap. Our department, this recruiting department,
Mhm.
added some other things, and Tom Jitto was running the department. He said, but we have to make sure that we know who gets what ticket. So I was able to design a system. You talk about being a little geek.
Yeah.
Finding that, but it was more. It wasn't the software that component. It was the thought process. It was planning. All right, what are all the fields that we need to keep track of? What do we need this? What do we need that? And so we were able to get everybody 2 tickets, and we knew where they were sitting because Mr. K said if they sold those tickets and we found out about it, he'd fire them. So the bottom line is, I started as an individual contributor, but then in 1983, this is before you were born, bud.
It
Uh,
is. Yeah, guilty. Guilty
yeah,
as charged. Palm April's age, so
1983,
you know that.
they called me in and they said, "We'd like for you to be the manager." Okay, that's exciting. Yeah, and you'll be supervising 5 people. Now I know that's a lot, and it's a lot to do. But if you need some help, we're here for you.
That's a Tuesday for compared to your experience.
And I said, being a young, shy guy that I was, I said, I appreciate the offer. I really do. Just so you know, I was totally responsible for 164 Marines and their daily lives. I think I can handle 5. And they go, oh, okay. Well, I ended up, long story, I'm going to try to make a long story short, which is impossible for me. But I was there for 14 years. Um, I helped design, I ended up having 10 full-time recruiters. I had a department that handled alternative staffing. We did relocation. And eventually I became the director of HR planning and development, which means the training department and organizational development reported to me. Well, in the interim, to help the company grow, I helped with my assistant, Beth, and she was absolutely terrific. an applicant, what we call a position control system, which helped integrate staffing with planning, financial planning, manufacturing planning, sales planning. Okay. Where the
Yeah.
hell did I learn that?
Oh, Marines. Yeah.
Marine Corps.
Easily.
I learned how to plan. I learned how to plan. And so to be able to do this and to think strategically, and you see the beautiful thing about what I learned as an officer in the Marines is there's a difference between tactics and strategy. What I learned was by developing there's planning, tactical and strategic. But looking at the strategy, I was able to, knowing where we were going as a company, I could help design the system to get us there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I could work with the IT people. They wrote the code. It was all written in COBOL, which was the language back then. And we implemented it. And it worked. It was beautiful. So the gal that runs the human resources information systems at Marion says there's a big conference coming up it's called HRSP, Human Resources Systems Professionals. They're having their big conference in San Diego. Could you do a presentation on your position control system? I said, sure, not a problem.
Yeah.
So I developed this thing, and back then there wasn't even slides. It was like the acetate, the plastic sheets that you put on the overhead
Yeah,
projector.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
My binder, when I went down there, was about this thick because all the presentation.
It sounds like a military presentation.
It was. It
Super
was.
long.
And here's the other thing too, and I don't want this to fall through. I was taught as a young officer, and even as a young officer candidate, the technique of military instruction. It's called the technique of military instruction. That's what they called it. So you ask me a question in a classroom. One of the things you do is you repeat the question. How many times have you ever been in a meeting when somebody asks a question and everybody goes, well, what do you say? What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay. So we learned to make sure that everybody was communicated. And so I was taught at a young age how to present, how to stand up in front of people and present. And I did that throughout my whole career. So when it came time for me to do that presentation, and because of my background in employment, and I was invited as this key speaker, and I was going through this, and it was humbling. Different universities used to call me to come speak about career planning and development and recruiting and what to plan for and how to put a resume together and all this stuff. And so I learned that, and I would do those presentations, but I did this presentation in San Diego, and I went down there, and I went down to the room, and I go, I'm not here. Where am I? And they go, well, we've had so many people sign up for your presentation. We had to move you to this big conference in a ballroom. So I go to this ballroom, and there's 500 people there. It's like, holy shit. So I'm on a stage so they could see me, and my overhead projector, I had to almost pay somebody to tell them when to flip the damn thing. It was a great experience for me, but I felt very, very proud. And every time I was able to speak, and I enjoyed doing that, but I look back over my experience, and that's where I learned it. That's where I got the experience. And so for years, I did that. And then my last job at Marion, after the merger with Merrill Dow, I was the head of the customer service center. We had a customer information center, and I had my own people. And to this day, and I'm one of these people of this age group that is still on Facebook, okay? So forgive me. But a lot of my old team and people I worked with are on Facebook, and I'm still connected with them. And because I learned how to be a leader.
That's cool.
You know,
Yeah.
the one beautiful thing that there's so many great experiences that I had, um, but I learned how to take care of people, my people. They were my people,
Yeah, I
my
think that's,
troops.
would you agree that that's an extremely undervalued skill or knowledge set in corporate America?
Oh, yeah, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
You
No,
know
yeah,
why?
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know why? I'll tell you why. It's simple. I talked to somebody about this the other day, and they go, "Oh my God, it's a revelation." When I was in the corporate world, the people that were in the C-suite, I hate that term, but the C-suite
Mhm.
or in senior leadership positions were all MBAs.
This is
They learned how to do deals.
right.
They learned money. Now, after Desert Storm and the inculcation of reservists into active duty leadership positions, sometimes in a combat situation or sometimes in another
Yeah.
situation, but in a
Yeah.
leadership role, active leadership role, they have gone back to their corporations and know how to take care of their people.
Yeah. That's super insightful. I wouldn't have guessed that, but that makes total sense.
And
Yeah.
so what's happening is we're starting to see more and more. And think about that. You can look back. I'm old enough to look back and go, we had very, very few people in our legislation, whether it's the state or federal, that actually served in the military. Those that did were really old. They served in
Hmm.
Korea.
Right. Oh
We didn't
yeah.
have any Vietnam veterans, very few that were serving in Congress. Look at it now.
Yeah, there's a
Look at
lot.
the number. Look at our vice president, former Marine,
Right.
our Secretary of War, former Army. We have a whole slew of people in executive and leadership and positions that had served in the military that understand the value of leadership and understand the value of taking care of your people.
Yeah.
So that's one of those for me, one of those gratifying things. And people go, oh, corporations are the same way, and many of them are, former military. If you take a look at, the whole history behind FedEx, I don't know if you know what the history around FedEx.
I know how it started,
He
which was
just
a,
he
a
just
literal
retired.
gamble. I know that part,
Yeah,
but I don't know the rest of it.
he was a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. He was a platoon commander in Vietnam,
Okay, I didn't know that part
and
of it.
he came back and he understood logistics.
Hmm.
Why? Because that's what they train you. It's everybody thinks it's all about tactics and fighting and this. You got to have the food, you got to have the weapons,
You got to get to the fight. You
you
got to
got to
show
have
up.
all the support.
Yeah.
I'm a student of ancient history. I love studying ancient Rome, and
Hmm.
the reason why uh, many of the ancient battles were lost was because they ran out of money, they ran out of food.
Yeah.
Well, we had 100,000 troops in this. How do you feed 100,000 people?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of food.
Where's all the lambs and the cows and the
Yeah.
everything else? But he learned logistics in the Marine Corps, and we're starting to see more and more executives in companies that have served in the military that understand the value of the human element.
Hmm.
The human, and it's funny. I used to say human resources. They used to call us. It went from personnel to human resources. Now it's talent management. Okay,
Is it really challenge management?
give me that crap.
Well, it's in the army. We say when a name changes, it's because somebody got a bullet point, or
Well,
somebody got
HR.
promoted. So yeah,
Yeah, I know. HR people love buzzwords. That's the thing.
yeah, it's
I
exactly
always come
right.
up with these special buzzwords. And
Yeah,
it's like, listen, economic or It's something intelligence. What the hell does that mean? So
Yeah.
here's my point where companies, human resources. What is a resource? A resource is something that you acquire, you use up, and you toss away.
Yeah.
Oil, gas, water. It's a
People.
resource.
Yeah. So treating people like a resource.
Assets. What is an asset? An
It's a
asset is something that you investigate, you acquire, and it creates a yield.
mhm.
So is it human resources management or is it human asset management? And the problem is that the people that were trained on the number side, when things weren't going well, they cut the asset. And then
Mhm.
the question was, who's going to bring you back? Oh, we'll
No
just
one.
hire more people. Really? There's a whole psychology involved with organizational integrity, and that is, you've got, just use an example, you got to say a department of 7 people and things aren't going well, and you rate them, based on who's the best and who's, so this one person is kind of at the bottom, and they go, well, you're going to have to cut your staff. Well, why do I have to cut my staff? Well, you have to cut your staff because you don't have the money. Okay, well, is there anything else we can do? Well, no, well, that's another story. But they say, we got to cut your staff. So they let this lady go. What happens to the department?
It falls
Her
apart.
best friends are still there. Their best friend was just let go. What happens to the organizational psychology?
It's
They
diminished.
think if they can get rid of her, they can get rid of me. So I'm going to look for another job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what people don't understand is there are different ways as you're going through a business cycles, like when we went through with COVID, of how to deal with money, but not deal and not get rid of your assets. And people
Yeah.
look at assets as building assets and computers and so forth. But your biggest asset goes home every night.
Mhm.
And they've forgotten that. Some of them have. The ones that are more successful are the ones that now understand you got to take care of your troops.
That's funny. I've seen this in the valve industry right now because I mean, I've seen it. So I've been in the industry just over 10 years at this point. My boss, almost 30 years, and he's seen it way more times than I have, but I've already seen it probably too many times for 10 years. Is a company is awesome. Their customer service, stellar, unmatched. Their product, fantastic, which I always say you could have the best product in the world, but if you can't match it with customer service, then it's going to fall apart. So they got both things going for them. Boom, then they get acquired. And then what starts happening? Well, some bean counters looking at an Excel sheet,
Yeah, you
but the
go.
Excel sheet doesn't have things on there to account for that you can't put money to. You can't put money to a good customer service department. And so then what they end up doing is they make changes and they run the place into the ground. And next thing you know, no one really wants that product anymore.
You
And
know,
I
yes,
don't get
and
it.
you know what's interesting is that one of the things that I feel accomplishment of is I built a succession and executive development plan for Marion Merrill Dow worldwide. I got to go into Europe and brief them on it. Um, and this is what I talked about. You develop your own people. Okay.
Yeah.
The problem in the military was you got 3 years and then somebody new comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just when you're making progress, just when everybody is on
Right.
the same,
That
then they
drives me
bring in the
crazy.
new CO who's a real ass,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and the sergeant major wants to kill him. That's
Mhm.
what it is. But in the corporate world, I said, so what happens is you go out and recruit we're building a new division, so we're going to go out and recruit a new vice president. Okay, from where? That person will bring in their own values,
Yeah.
their own philosophies, and everything that you are looking to build, you're developing your own cancer, an internal cancer.
Yeah.
That if they then reward their people the same way that they were rewarded in their own company and they weren't rewarded in their own company, and people are, this is what it was interesting in working in the merger with Merrill Dow, is they all came from the Dow mentality, the Dow chemical background.
Mm-hmm.
And Marion had a very, 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 very productive culture. Oh, it was just a blessing. And they came in and go, well, we're going to do it this way. Wait a minute. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we ought to do what Marion did, because they were successful.
Yeah.
They were successful with a small group of people to accomplish all of this. We're not in a big monolith anymore. So they enjoyed the fact that the way we treated each other and the amount of respect. In fact, I just got an email yesterday that there's a group of Marion people that are getting together for lunch next week, and I will see some people I haven't seen in probably 30 years. But it's been I actually worked retail for a while. You may or may not remember this.
I do.
I was at the Sharper Image,
Yeah.
the town center.
Yeah. I remember.
One of the greatest experiences I ever had. Why? Because I learned how to take care of people.
Yeah. I started a hardware store at a college, and that's definitely, I mean, I can say I've been in sales in my industry since 2014, so over 10 years, but really I've been in sales since 2010. That's how I look at it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still things I do today for a customer, Evergy, whoever around, and it's the same stuff I learned working in a hardware store.
And the the when you're in I was never in a combat zone. All right.
Mhm.
And that's one of those things as a Marine, you go, God, combat zone. There wasn't any war,
I was gonna
that
say, yeah, you were
I
in
could
a rough
do,
time to accomplish that. Yeah.
gosh. But it's constantly you're learning how to take care of people in a variety of ways, and to have them trust you. One of the things that when I was working retail, and you said you were in the hardware store, people that trusted you would come back, and they would come back and shop at that store because they trusted you. When I
Mhm.
worked with Habitat for Humanity for 7.5 years, and then Hillcrest Transitional Housing for 6, in a nonprofit area, to help
Mhm.
people. And I needed them to support us, in volunteering or to donate money. They had to trust me. And for people that realize, they're more concerned about their careers. My feeling is, if you can get people to trust you, your career will take care of itself,
Yeah.
because you'll be successful.
Yeah.
And for them to trust you, you got to be honest. You can't BS them,
Yeah.
and you can't necessarily play the politics. And uh, I, I can remember an IG inspection. We had an IG inspection. Then I was a first recon battalion, and because I was in the 3 shop, and
Mhm.
the parachute and the scuba locker reported to me. And then the IG came out, and this colonel was inspecting our sergeant, who you very seldom ever saw him in any kind of uniform, except swim trunks and a t-shirt, because he was always packing chutes and getting scuba gear ready.
Uh-huh.
And the colonel goes, I forgot his name, the sergeant, your trousers are a 16th of an inch too short. You need to be more attention to detail. Well, I almost got written up because I went to the colonel and I go, Colonel, this man packs my chutes and takes care of my scuba gear. His attention detail is impeccable. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now. So I think 16th of an inch of his trousers is not as important as his ability to do his job.
Yeah.
And I got, Lieutenant, watch yourself. I got, okay, fine. But he knew I had his back.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's one of the keys. People got to trust you.
Yeah.
Trust
Well, yeah, because especially when you get into a really kind of any industry, but especially around the military, if you're in a certain MOS or job set, like the engineer world, for instance, is really small. So your name carries your reputation, and if guys can trust you or not. And there's plenty of guys that, they're like, oh, I already heard about you. I know what to think.
you.
Well, whether it's right or wrong, but it's true. And so then, same with the corporate world is. I always say in Kansas City, there's 3 degrees of separation, not even
Yeah,
six.
yeah.
And so it's like you never know who knows who, or it's just kind of crazy who that knows somebody else you just ran into. And so yeah, if you're known as not a trustworthy guy or a trustworthy guy to work for, and then you got a bunch of staff that's disappointed, and then you hire somebody new, and that staff's gonna wise up that person real fast if you're
Yeah.
a poor
And, one of
leader.
the things that I wanted to cover this because many of the folks are transitioning to the civilian world. And I used to do workshops on this. It was something that was very, very near and dear to my heart. And in 2000, what was it, 2008, we had that big recession.
Yeah.
All these people lost their jobs. There was a job clubs everywhere. And I tell you, I volunteered my time. I was working. What was I doing then? Oh, I was working with Habitat for Humanity, but 2 or 3 nights a week, I'd be talking to job clubs about how to look for a job. And I used the analogy, and I did this for, 15 years with the Women's Employment Network. I was the only ever presenter that was a male. And I think that's why they got rid of me, because they got a little too militant, but that's another story for another time. You look for a job like looking for a spouse.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree
The
with that.
same process.
Yeah.
It's the same process.
Well, you're only looking for one.
Yeah, yeah. But the key is the mentality is it, what am I looking for? I'm looking for this. No, well, what do you want? The first question is, what do you want? It's
Yeah.
values. Do you share the same set of values? What are you looking for? I'm looking for someone that shares the same set of values as me. Well, what does that mean? And then you get into that. And then, well, how do you find that person? That's the next step. And then the next step is dating. And I would refer it as the interview is the next step. Is the
I
interview is the date.
I didn't
You're
anticipate
dating.
you coming on here and giving marital advice, but you are, and it's great advice. So,
Yeah, it's
listeners,
the
this is
same
good.
thing.
It's good for
It's
both
the same thing.
things.
But people, but see, as adults, most of us have been trained. We know how to do a courtship, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Some better than others. We're not necessarily don't necessarily find the best job in the world, but you get the best of what's available at the time. Which I did a presentation once, and my wife was in the audience, and that didn't sit too well because you're the best of what I got. Is you're the best available at the time, but it's true. It's true.
I want to hear her
So
side of the story now.
yeah, so it's the same thing, and it was really interesting. In how do you translate when you're going on a date to let the person know who you are, what's important to you, what you're good at. It's about values and competencies. Skills are part of the competencies, but that's not. You don't go on a date saying, "Do you know how? Do you know how to make a veal parmesan?"
Yeah,
No, no, no. That comes up later.
Yeah.
It comes up later.
You got to have the basis, the
But do you like to
foundation.
cook? Is that a value? Is that important to you? Oh, I like to cook. You like to cook? What is then you start communicating. Are you compatible?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to tell you this one story. So I'm a recruiter and I got this resume in. I hate resumes, by the way.
Duly noted.
Qualification summary. We'll talk about that if you're interested. I hate resumes. The resume came in former first lieutenant in the Marine Corps, a tank platoon commander. That was his resume.
That's all it said.
Well, it's from college to
Oh, okay, there were details, but okay, yeah.
this. What he did is a tank platoon commander. So I called him up. Of course, back then there was no emails or anything. So I called him up, and I mentioned, and he kept sirring me. And I said, "So, how many tanks do you think we have here at Marion Labs, sir?" I said, "Yeah. How many tanks do you think we have here at Marion Labs? Do you think we have tanks to protect the perimeter?" "Well, no, sir. I don't think you have any tanks." "Then why did you send me a resume to tell me what a great tank platoon commander you were?" "I don't care." You see, as a tank platoon commander, and I was trying to explain to him, and this is what I talk to people about in the military. One of the things that companies really are looking for sometimes are people that can manage money, manage a budget.
Yeah, he could put how much money all the tanks were together, say that he was in
Exactly.
charge of several $1 million worth, which is funny
Exactly.
because at one point I didn't know what career path I wanted between two. So
Yeah.
I had two different resumes that said the same things, but in a different way, depending on who
Yeah.
was reading them.
And what we have to do is translate it, and you can't you can't use military terms to talk to civilians.
No, no,
You just can't.
no,
They
you
don't
can't.
get it. They don't get it. Now you get. I've run into some former Marines and a couple of my friends that we were lieutenants together, and come to find out, Bud was a professor up at Command and Staff College, and we reconnected after 40 some years. And he and Jane moved to Phoenix and retired, but he still comes to Kansas City, and we have dinner together. But we can talk and we can use those terms, and it means something. But for the most part, all you have to do is think in terms of, what did I do?
Mhm.
How did I do it? Not what did we call it? What was our three letters that we called it?
Right. Yeah,
You know,
TLAs.
what did you do? How did you do it? People, and when I did my workshops on an interviewing, I'd say what you need to tell somebody is how you did it, not what you did,
Yeah.
because it's important. And you mentioned customer service, and one of the keys is how did you treat your customers? Because you want to find out, are you going to treat our new customers the way you treated your old customers, and was that
Yeah.
acceptable?
Yeah.
So it's like, how did you get it done? Well, I did this, I pulled this together, and I did this, looked at this research, and I got this and agreed, and I worked with this team and they helped me get this thing. Wow, that's the kind of person I'm looking for.
Yeah. Now, after being through all this, I'm gonna ask my favorite question, which I always call as my favorite question. If you were to go back in time from today, Mark,
Yeah.
and meet up with yourself right before signing the line and committing to the military, what would be the advice you gave yourself?
Make sure to take care of your troops,
Outstanding. Yeah.
because tactics, strategies, technology are all learnable, and you can help But when it comes to taking care of your troops, they're your lifeblood, they're your blood.
Hmm.
There were things like, I look back over being a young lieutenant. I had to help fill out adoption papers for one of my troops who was adopting his wife's child. And he didn't have any idea how to do it. Those little things, those guidance, you could maybe appreciate this. I had Corporal Pratt, who was one of my troops over here in the Philippines. He was in our operations staff. And he came to me, he said, I was a first lieutenant at the time. He says, Lieutenant, he said, man, I met this girl and I, I think we're going to get married. Well, I don't know if you know anything about the Philippines and the Marine Corps at Subic Bay but what the girls would do you would get married. Very strict Catholics, okay, in the Philippines. You would get married and they would say, I will come to the United States once you return back to the States after your tour. I will join you. But you need to take out an allotment of a dependence allotment.
Ah,
So there was a line down in admin. So, and then what happens is they get back to the States. Hey, come join me. No, they're getting all that money for their family.
yeah, yeah.
And the other question was, Corporal Pratt, how long has she been in Longapo and how many ships has she seen come in? Those
Fair
are,
question.
but you get into those personal things. And then when it comes into the real world, the corporate world, if you will, people have forgotten humanity.
Yeah.
I had one of my recruiters who ended up dying of AIDS, by the way. But his dad, he was from outside of Winfield, Kansas, down by Wichita.
Yeah, Wichita, yeah.
Yeah, his dad had Alzheimer's, but I didn't know that because he kept coming in late and he was always tired. And so I called him in and I said, what's going on? He says, well, I'm driving down to Wichita every night to take care of my dad. And then I would come back and I would try to work. You think about the kind of lifestyle he was living. And it's like,
That's
do what you have to. What can we do so you can help your dad and still be productive on your job? And so we were able to work something out. I didn't let HR know what I was doing.
they
None of
don't
their
need to
damn
know.
business,
Yeah,
But to go back to your question, you take care of your troops.
yeah. I agree. How about veteran benefits? Which ones have you been able to take advantage of,
None,
if any?
none.
No? Okay.
No, I'm making too much money.
Fair enough.
No, I'm not. But the reality is, Vietnam era vets, unless they were exposed to Agent Orange,
Hmm.
don't qualify if they're making over X number of dollars. All post 9/11 vets qualify.
Wow, I didn't know any of this, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
borderline ashamed to say. I had no
True.
idea.
And come to find out whether I was told this, how truthful it is, I'll have to look it up again. But the person that recommended this legislation was a senator that we can't afford to pay all these and take care of all these veterans.
I bet
His
they
name was
voted for them to
Biden.
get a raise. Oh, was by
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
the pro military. I'd have to verify that, but I was told that.
I'll
But
look it up out of
no,
curiosity now.
you know, I don't take advantage of when people, thank you for your service. And I tell them it was my honor. It was my
Yeah.
honor. Um, I don't on Veterans Day. I don't uh, go to Hy-Vee and get a free breakfast. I don't go to free lunches. That I some of the thank you for your service is bullshit. Okay, it's like when you were you aware that I had open heart surgery in February?
I did
Did you
not
know
know.
that?
No,
You didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Uh, I had tachycardia, and they said that I needed bypass surgery, which I had. I think your mom knew, but I had bypass surgery, and I put something on Facebook, and I said, I wanted you to know, in case I'm alive, I survived it fine. I'm going to be recovering. We're great, but I don't want your thoughts and prayers
Yeah, I understand that.
because most of you are just clicking a button and you
Yeah.
don't mean it sincerely.
Yeah. That's what bothers
It's
me about
like on
birthday wishes.
it's like
Same
on
thing.
Facebook now with birthdays,
Yeah.
click. It's and then you get all these birthday messages that have the same emojis next to them, and you go, "That's bullshit." All they did was they pressed the one button.
Yeah. LinkedIn, when you connect or do something, or you
So
congratulate
I
someone on their
said,
work
I
anniversary, I
said, I don't
always
want
type it
any of
up.
this thoughts and prayers crap.
Yeah.
If you want to send me a personal note, you can send me to a personal note on Messenger.
Hmm.
But my daughters, the great personalities that they are, posted tots and prayers or tots and pears. That if you wanted to support us with tots and pears, not thoughts and prayers. So, but it's the same thing. Thank you for your service. Do you really know what that means? And to me, families are the ones that need to be thanked.
Yeah,
Children,
absolutely.
wives, parents. My God, what my mom went through, even though I was okay, but my
They
mom,
worry.
she said, "Did you have a good week?" Yeah, I said we had a parachute jump on. I've got a parachute jump coming up on Thursday, and then I'm going to plan on going up to such that. She says, "Would you do me a favor and tell me after you had the parachute jump, not before?" He says, "Because you're going to drive me crazy." So uh, the parents, the spouses, the children are the ones that need to be thanked. They're the
Yeah.
ones that sacrificed. We did it. I don't want to say we did it because we wanted to, but we did.
Hmm.
We volunteered.
Yeah.
We weren't forced to do it. We chose to do it. They weren't chosen. They didn't make that choice. We put that on them.
Yeah.
I would say that one of the reasons I did get out of the Marine Corps was I wanted to have a family. And I realized it's like what happened right after we were married. I told Lorraine, I said, I might get a phone call at night. I may be gone for a couple days. I may be gone for a week. I may be gone for a year, or I may not ever come back. So you're going to manage the money. Big mistake because she manages it so well. She tells me, "Oh, I see you went to lunch with somebody today." So, but it's the family. You want to thank somebody for the service? Thank the mothers and fathers. Thank the children. Thank the wives, the siblings. They're the ones that sacrificed. We didn't
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Well, I look at my deployment, and from day one, well, hell, during the deployment, I knew that my wife, was single mom in it with a daughter who was not even two. She turned two while we were over there. And I knew that was a harder life than what I was living. And, it wasn't easy by any means. But the other thing too, because some people are like, so Nick and I were counter IED operations. So that's it can be hard. It's mostly boring. It's not as sexy as it sounds. But the point is that at that point, I've been training for that job for 8 years. My wife never trained to be a single mom. there was no there was no like frame of reference. She did a great job, but she, was piecing it together as she went along, and she did an awesome job. But like I had a very good idea of what I was doing, and if something happened, we had rehearsed how to respond to that a million times, and if that went wrong, we needed to respond to that. So yeah, coming off what you saying, like, we have the training to go do what we're doing. So however
Yeah.
technically hard or not it is, it's like we know what we're doing. But yeah, it's
It's
different when you do it for
and
real. But
I haven't used. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess some people think they're because they served that they're entitled to certain things.
mm,
I
thank
haven't
me.
had the same sense.
We call it "thank me for my service." Some of the
Uh,
attitude. It's like they're saying "thank me for my service" when it's like,
it,
yeah,
there's a part of me that would just to see what people's reaction would be. They go, "Thank you for your service." You go, "You have no idea." Just to see their face, just to see how they react. Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
but it's just like the thoughts and prayers and thank you for your service. Um, it was my honor. I
yeah.
chose to do this, and
Well, look at all the benefits you were able to get from it,
oh
all
my
the
God,
capabilities.
the things that I learned and
Hmm.
what I was able to accomplish afterwards,
Hmm.
I attributed a lot to having the freedom to learn a lot of things.
Yeah,
Um, what did something Lorraine said? Oh, she made some kind of snarky comment about
she would
uh,
never.
the military. Relate. I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, um, she said this person was comes. Oh, I know what it was. It was a gal she works with, and I won't get into more detail than that since this is a podcast. Uh, uh, she says she acts like a drill instructor, and I said, "Oh, you have no idea. You
Yeah,
have no idea what a drill instructor is like." So I said, she's a disciplinarian, but you don't have no idea what a drill instructor is like.
yeah. It does. When
I'd love
people
to be able to treat
compare,
these 4 and 5 year olds like a drill instructor would.
well, one thing I noticed with drill instructors is like the first thing I noticed, because I mean, this is good and bad because nobody wants to be the crier, right? Like I didn't want to be the crier, but
Yeah.
when you're the laugher, which is what I was,
Uh-huh.
that comes with a burden,
Yeah.
obviously. But I noticed that they tended to say the things that you tell young kids not to say. They're calling people four eyes, they're saying stuff like that. And you're like, they're basically saying everything that I've been taught since kindergarten not to say. And this is pretty awesome to hear somebody saying it. Hello?
To watch Full Metal Jacket and to watch Ermi
Mm-hmm.
as Sergeant. What's his name? I forgot. But when you watch that, you just gotta laugh.
Oh yeah, I laughed my ass
It's
off.
just hilarious.
Yeah.
And you for those and nowadays, um, I look at what. Well, let me back up a second. Just tell you a quick little story. So in 2017, Lorraine and I took a trip to Washington, D.C. And I had some contacts that got us. Uh, we went down to Quantico
Oh, okay.
and went to the Marine Corps Museum, which,
Yep.
for anybody that's ever served, is a great, great place to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's free. It's beautiful. And then we went on base, and the people with the Marine Corps University Foundation, I was talking with them. And the funny thing was the guy that's running it is a retired general, and his last name is Mills. General Mills,
Yeah.
just like the cereal.
Yeah.
Uh, but then the colonel took us out around Quantico, where I went through basic officer candidate school, and then we went out to Camp Barrett, where basic school was. We got to see these young lieutenants, male and female, and I'm telling you, these young troops, they're impressive. They are really, really impressive. And I can only speak for the Marine Corps. What the Marine Corps troops are going through at boot camp, and then have to go through the crucible. Um, they're a very special group of young people out there,
Yeah.
and doing a hell of a job. And there's a lot of changes going on, not so much positive, but some of them, technology is taking over certain things that the troops do. But the bottom line is, a Marine and its rifle is still there, and that's what it's all
Good.
about.
Yeah. Good.
And I know, and we always used to joke we'd go to an army base and see what we could steal.
We do that too.
Well, yeah, well, we tried. If we didn't get it from the army, we'd steal it from the Navy.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what Marine stands for? To my understanding, it stands for My Ass Rides in Navy Equipment.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one before?
Well, the other thing is that we refer to me as the Uber of the Marine Corps.
That's good.
But in my experiences, even in Naval ROTC, when we were on ship, we were in ship for like 30 days on our way down to Australia. Just knowing the education that I got in a lifetime, the things that I've been able to see. That's another thing about the military, that if a person doesn't take advantage of that, now it's different when you're in a place like Afghanistan or
mhm.
Iraq or a war zone. But if you're in an area where you're an operational unit, but you're in an area, take advantage of the culture and to travel and
Yeah.
to see the things that the average person. I said, I don't know, could we go to Australia? No, I've been there. It didn't cost me a thing.
Yeah. That is, yeah, that's
I
a
was on.
major.
It was a cruise. I was on a cruise.
It was a dude's trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys' weekend.
When we
So
arrived, in Australia, when we arrived in Sydney, we were kid joking and we're saying, uh, we got there and it's like no beer. We've had no beer atoll and no women atoll. So it was a fun experience there. So
so
what are
Mark,
the questions?
I was gonna say it's been awesome. You actually covered a bunch of stuff I normally ask, which is awesome because it's more
I do
organic
that. I'm
that
sorry.
way. No, it's good. It's more organic than me like it's like some nerd reading through a list. So it's perfect. There is one last question, and then we'll bring it to a close. But
All right.
what is just a good, funny story? Just someone you look back on, you're like, man, that was hilarious.
I think the funniest story is the one I already told, where the
Yeah,
colonel thought he was
yeah,
he was all, look at this. We did a great job.
yeah. You're like, that didn't even
No,
take a
colonel,
picture.
you
So,
didn't.
do you have a backup then?
I looked at that, and that to me was so no. But I also have another story that was almost funnier.
All right, let's have that one.
Okay, here you go. So I was on a ship.
Mhm.
We had an operation overnight. It was a command and control type of thing. Navy SEALs, us, and I think a Marine engineering group. And so I went in the overnight. We were up all night doing command and control, blah, 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 blah. So I went in
Mhm.
the officer's mess to get a cup of coffee. And in there was another officer. And we were sitting there talking, and he goes, "Oh man, I am so tired. I had it was on a Monday.
Mhm.
Hell of a weekend." "Oh, really?" Yeah, I went to a party over at the BOQ. A friend of mine had a big party. Really? Who was he? Mention the guy's name. I won't mention it because we're on a podcast. Uh, I said, really, who is he with? Is he in the Marine Corps? Yeah, he's with the 7th Marines. Really? And he told me his name. I knew the guy. I said, so yeah, it was a good party. He goes, yeah, I had too much to drink and I fell asleep on the couch. And I woke up and he and his girlfriend were really going at it. And you're going, where, Mark, where are you going on that? He goes, oh, and his girlfriend was really going at it. I go, oh, really? Um, was this girl named Jessie? He goes, yeah. I says, was she like 5'5", short, dark hair? He goes, yeah. Do you know her? I go, yeah, it's my wife. The look on his face, and he left.
Yeah.
Well, that story and the story of the aerial photography are my two favorite.
Those are good. I like them both.
One is not
Well,
as much as a Marine Corps story, but it's still a fun one.
I can see that'd be a Marine Corps story. But
Yeah,
Mark, it's been awesome having you on.
yeah,
Thank you
it's
so
great.
much for your time. We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your zeros, 5s, 10s, and 25s.